Welcome back to another gig log. This is Nate with In the Mix Light and Sound. Tonight we're back at the Steel Pub venue here in Bethlehem, PA, and we have a very straightforward band tonight. Just two guitars, keys, bass, and drums. They bring their own lighting, so all we had to do is bring some front lighting. That'd be an easy setup. We're going to provide the PA and 4 individual monitor mixes. So again, pretty straightforward one tonight. I'll try to get some details of the band, some details of the setup I did here. Again, with the load in here at the Steel Pub, it's one of those where you have to unload and then go find parking. So we've already done that. We've got all of our gear unloaded that we brought in just nice 3 trips. So it didn't take too long this time. But with that, let's go ahead and take a look. So if you've seen previous videos here at the Steel Pub, we're under what's essentially 2 tents, 3 tents technically. Big tent for the audience area on the far right. Big tent here for another audience and dance area. And then we have a tent that is dedicated to the stage and the band area. So again, tonight we'll be setting up our 4 wedges. We have our DB Technologies 10 inches for the front, and we have our 15 for the back. We have our standard little bar rack gig here, so 10U rack with our mixer and all those components. We'll go through that. We have our stands and lighting there, and on the cart that we just brought in, we have our Yamaha subs, our 12s, and our Meyer X40s for in here. So we're gonna go ahead and get set up. All right, still getting set up here. We have all of our monitors set. We have the power cord set. The mains are set already, so we're just waiting for the band to get all of their stuff set so we can go up and mic and run cables and pin up the stage. Well, it's starting to fill in now. We've got the band all pinned, the stage is up, and we're about to do a little sound check here. And we'll get started shortly. So we had a little bit of bad news here. We figured out
shortly through the first set, the stage left subwoofer is not passing any audio. So the whole show tonight, what we've been listening to, has been through that single subwoofer right there, which is doing an awesome job. I've been checking it out. It is not clipping or limiting or anything, and I can't believe a 12 is filling this the way it is, but definitely missing that other sub over there. So when we show's over, we'll take it back, we'll open it up, see if there's anything loose, which in my experience, fingers crossed you open something easy like that, but typically it's not. So we'll see what happens there. We might have to send the amp module back to Yamaha or support and have them take a look and fix it. But yeah, we're only operating off of one subwoofer tonight. So these things happen, Sometimes gear fails. It's just part of what happens. It's adapting to it and moving on, which we're doing okay so far. So we got another set to go here. Here's a little bit of the stage. We have 3 wedges across the front. We have a 4th wedge back by drums. And again, it is bass is the hookup here, guitar, 2nd guitar, and the keys. The keys were actually hooked up instead of a DI out directly at the keys. He has a powered speaker as a monitor that he brought along, and we're just taking a XLR out of that particular speaker there. So pretty straightforward run for tonight. The only lights we brought tonight are the ones you see up there, which are just the front lights, and nothing special there. We just have them dimmed down a bit, but they're just the typical blinder type lights on my bigger rigs. I'll bring them out and use them as blinders, but for tonight they are now front wash, and they're just cold white and warm white, and I just have a mix of the two together on there. And here we'll just make our way across the stage, back by drums. This is their lighting truss and their lights. And then over to the side, this is how we have everything patched into our small rig. So normally there's Audix wireless in here. We're not using that tonight. Everything's hardwired. The band is using their own microphones. But we got everything patched into the DL32, X32 Core, and the 2 wirelesses we're not using, a power strip. And then up top we have just a regular old Wi-Fi router and a little Dell Optiplex that we are using tonight. It's a computer hooked in through USB to the X32 Core. And we're just using that for our background music. We have a 18.5 inch touch monitor that rides here in the road case. This is a 10U road case. And that way we can hook it up and we can touch and control. I actually have M32 Edit here that I can bring up, and then if I need to, can side control right here from side stage. But front of house, we have a dual screen laptop. And we're just running wirelessly from there. And here's our front of house for tonight, running mixing station on dual screen laptop. And again, just wirelessly connected to the router up on stage there. We also have M32 Edit running in the background here, so that we can get the graphics of some of the compression that we're using on a couple of the vocal channels. And then the Wave Designer we have, of course, on the kick drum, helping us out tonight, especially since we're only running with one sub.
Beloved,
right, so here we are at the end of another gig log, and we're packed up and on our way home, and didn't get too much of the teardown. Didn't get anything of the teardown because and just wanted to get everything down and home. But it took actually, because I didn't have that much stuff out, it was really packed up in about 50 minutes. Even with having to go get the truck and everything, I would say about an hour teardown. So, still on par. Relatively, easy gig, but we had a sub go down, and eventually, I think as you work for a while in sound, you are going to have equipment that fails, and sometimes it's out of your control. I know, I try to really take care of the things that I have, the items that I pay for. Make sure that they're in good condition, make sure that they're tested, but they're electronics, and electronics can fail. And I will say that over the years, I've figured out different ways of carrying backups. Sometimes I'll bring an extra spare monitor just in case, or I'll always, like every gig, I bring a spare mixer. So you always see the bar gig that I have, with the wireless and everything racked together in the 10U unit. I also have a little 3U molded case that contains an X32 rack. And I bring that with me to every gig, large or small, because if something were to happen to one of my mixers, I can easily pull that out, do some patching, and let's say a DL32 goes down, well, I can consolidate down to the 16 channels of the X32 rack. Or let's say that my X32 Core would go down, then I can just patch the DL32 right into the rack, and I'm ready to go. So I always bring backups from that regard, all the big stuff, the showstoppers. Let's say a main goes down. You can limp through a gig with one speaker if you have to. Not ideal by any means. And in this case, we were able to get through the gig with just that single sub. And let me tell you, that single sub, it sounded great. The reason I knew something was wrong is when I was setting and getting line checks and levels and all of that, my eyes were showing me that mixing, I have the levels where I normally do, but my ears were telling me that something wasn't right. I wasn't getting the power, the low end, especially with kick drum and bass that I normally get. And we got about halfway through, we got a little bit into the first set, and I just happened to go up to the speaker stack and notice that there wasn't anything coming out of the stage left sub. And I went down, just to check and see what was going on, make sure it was powered on. It was powered on. I turned it off, let it sit for a moment, turned it back on. It still wasn't passing any audio. The amp module would come on, but there was no sound passing through. So next step was to check routing, make sure the mixer didn't get mistakenly routed somehow, which I didn't think was the case, and it wasn't. And then change out the XLR cable that was feeding to it. And once I changed out the XLR, still no sound, nothing through it. So at that point, we turned off the sub and limped through the gig. Now, I've had different brands where the amp modules have gone, and usually they kind of all give the same symptoms. The amp module will turn on, you'll get power. Sometimes you'll see signal to them, sometimes you won't, but there's no sound coming out of the system. It happened to me with RCF TTL 6As. I had one that went down while I was flying in the air, and that had to send away the module, get that fixed. I had it happen with two IG4Ts to find out that the models that I had were earlier models, and there was an issue with those amp modules where they would, again, I don't know exactly what it was, but there was something that was a weak point on those that would cause those modules to fail. I've had JBL PRX's subs that had to replace an amp module in one of those too. And it just happens. It's things that happen over time. And again, it's not by, they were all covered under warranty. They were all things that were repaired, not abuse on my part or anything. They just, it happens. Some of this stuff gets mass produced, mass manufactured, and not that it's quality control, but something could have shaken loose in there. When I get it home, I'm gonna take the module out and just double check and make sure there's not a loose connection. I'm hoping that that's the case. That would be ideal, right? That I can just connect it together and everything works again. But I'm not getting my hopes up just based on past experience. I'll have to check with Yamaha support. I'll have to look and see what the warranty is on the DXSs, see if I can get it repaired under warranty. And most manufacturers are good. They only make you send in the amp module for replacement or repair. You don't have to send the whole speaker because that gets a little ridiculous with shipping. So we'll check with Yamaha. We'll find out what it is. So, I hope this YouTube video was somewhat helpful. Again, things happen. Things will fail, and it's how you deal with the issue. That really makes the difference in getting through a gig. Luckily, this one was not, it was not a showstopper. And I try really hard to have redundancy built in, that there isn't really anything that's going to be a showstopper. So that's important. That said, I debated whether or not I was going to put up this video because, you don't want to necessarily publicize, gear failure and things like that. But I think it's important, just, a day in the life, right? There are going to be things that happen. There is going to be equipment that fails on you. That's why there is a warranty for gear. That's why, there's repair centers. And that's why when you're looking for gear, you should really take into account, support and repair. That's important. Unless it's something that is a price that sits at a price point that is kind of throwaway gear in a way. I know the X32s, a lot of people talk about them that way because they're lower price mixers that do awesome, and mid-market, they're all over the place. But worst case scenario, if you had to pick one up, it wouldn't be the price of, say, like a Meyer speaker, something like that. So again, just something to keep in mind. And with that, we're going to go ahead and call this a video. Gig log. I'll think of a little title for this one. But yeah, sometimes equipment goes down. We'll get it fixed. Until next time, this is Nate with In the Mix Light and Sound. Thanks again for watching. Thank you for subscribing and commenting.